It's Monday, March 4. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. The government is expected to spend approximately $143 million during the 2019-2020 fiscal year for the completion of a project that is geared towards establishing 3 diagnostic centers. Details of the project are outlined in the 2019-2020 estimates of expenditure now before the House of Representatives. The diagnostic centers will be established at the Church's Teachers College in Manchester, Sam Sharp Teachers College in St. James, and the College of Agriculture, Science and Education, CASE, in Portland. Work started at the Church's Teachers College and Sam Sharp Teachers College during the fiscal year 2018-2019. For the new fiscal year, the money will be used to engage a consultant to conduct an assessment at one of the locations and complete the design for the CASE Diagnostic Center. The Ministry of Local Government and Community Development is to provide an education grant valued at $1.5 million to the Poor Relief Department of each municipal corporation in the 2019-2020 financial year. Portfolio Minister Desmond McKenzie says the money is to provide support to children of poor families who display outstanding academic performance at the primary and secondary levels. The minister was speaking at the 3rd staging of the Board of Supervision's Scholarship Awards and Recognition Ceremony held at the Joel Runaway Bay Beach and Golf Resort in St. Anne on Friday. The minister informed that an educational program will be designed to improve the visibility of the Poor Relief Department in the lives of Jamaican young people when it comes to education. McKenzie emphasized that education is a vehicle to upward mobility and a key component to Jamaica's economic development. The people of Eastern Portland will go to the polls on March 25 to elect their new Member of Parliament. The JLP's candidate will be Anne-Marie Vaz and Damian Crawford for the People's National Party. The date was announced on the weekend by Prime Minister Andrew Holness at a Jamaica Labour Party mass rally in Port Antonio Square, Portland. Vaz and Crawford will be seeking to replace Dr. Linvale Bloomfield, who was found murdered at his house in the constituency on February 2. Political parties, candidates and their contributors will have to comply with strict campaign financing rules as they raise funds for the upcoming by-election in Portland Eastern. Contributions will be regulated by the Representation of the People Amendment Act and the Election Campaign Financing Regulations. A media release from the Electoral Office of Jamaica says contributors can give donations to parties during the campaign period, which starts when an election or by-election of the members of the House of Representatives is announced and ends 24 hours before the opening of polls. According to the Electoral Office, no agent of any state, a public body, undisclosed donors, or donors whose activities are illegal are allowed to make contributions to political parties. Contributions to each candidate must not exceed $1.5 million, while those to political parties must be below $31.5 million. Contributors must declare all donations at or above $250,000, even if the contribution was made in parts. Any award of government contracts of at least $500,000 received up to 2 years before making a contribution must be declared by the contributor. Similarly, any contract of at least $500,000 received up to 2 years after contribution is to be also reported. And any person who knowingly makes a false statement in any report or declaration could be fined up to $3 million or spend 12 months in jail. The head of Jamaica's leading cancer support charity is urging health insurance providers to offer more affordable critical illness plans to improve access to cancer care. Executive Director of the Jamaica Cancer Society, Hewlett Gordon, who was speaking on Thursday at the launch of the book Through the Valley, written by cancer survivor Michelle Ashwood Stewart, said difficulty in acquiring affordable health insurance is contributing to the fear factor that is associated with dealing with cancer in Jamaica. She said 1 in every 21 women in Jamaica will be diagnosed with breast cancer, which is the leading cause of cancer-related deaths on the island. Gordon pointed out that Jamaica's median age for breast cancer diagnosis is 8 years younger than the global age of 60, with approximately 60% of the breast cancer diagnoses in Jamaica being among women between the ages of 25 and 59 years. This is an indication, she said, that this form of cancer afflicting local women is more aggressive. Gordon said the launch of the National Cancer Registry will also facilitate publication of population data on cancer, which will serve to guide national efforts to fight the disease and to promote more research activities. In the wake of the recent spate of crime and violence in Clarendon, Mayor of Maypen, Winston Mirage, has renewed his call for a state of emergency to be declared in the parish. The Clarendon police were kept busy Thursday night responding to 3 shooting scenes, including a triple murder in Maypen. The mayor believes additional security measures are needed to curtail criminal activities in the parish. The coverage, range, and distribution of data collected by the Jamaica Crime Observatory is to be improved following an injection of $43.9 million. The money is being provided by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF, through its Integrated Community Development Projects funded by the World Bank. A memorandum of understanding to solidify this arrangement was signed by representatives of the Ministry of National Security and JSIF during a ceremony at the St. Andrew offices of JSIF last Thursday. The Crime Observatory is an instrument through which the Ministry of National Security keeps up-to-date, reliable data to promote transparency, security and safety in the national interest. It also establishes valid and consistent crime and violence-related statistics for each community, as well as the corresponding geo-reference maps of the cases, and uses the data to inform policy and decision-making towards the development of improved citizen security and prevention measures. In regional news, financially strapped regional carrier Liat is making assurances that it will remain in the air amid report that it could be grounded. Last Friday, Liat sought to allay fears of its customers. It was Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley who disclosed that the Antigua-based airline needed a cash injection of $5 million to stay afloat. He made the disclosure on Thursday while speaking to journalists in his return from the recent CARICOM summit in St. Kitts. Rowley said one of Liat's problems was flying on economic routes.
If Liat ceases to fly, I need not tell you the economic and other impact that would have on the region. While Trinidad and Tobago does not rely heavily on Liat for transportation, the other territories are virtually at the mercy of a Liat service. However, the discussion understood quite clearly that this is a matter for the shareholders of Liat. So Trinidad and Tobago is not in that category. However, a decision had been taken by the shareholders of Liat, who are largely Barbados, Dominica, Antigua, and others, St. Vincent, that they will have to act in emergency to ensure that Liat stays flying.
In a release on Friday, Liat CEO Julie Reefer-Jones acknowledged that the carrier is in a financially challenging situation, but said that it has continued to fly with support from its principal shareholders and from the governments of Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Dominica, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Liat currently operates 491 flights weekly to 15 destinations. Reefer Jones says new talks are on the way to improve its operations. In Guyana, the government will have to wait a bit longer to hear whether the Court of Appeal will grant its request for an interim conservatory order and stay in the application of the High Court decision to uphold the December 21 no confidence motion passed against it. HGP's Javon Vankry explains.
After a few minutes of arguments in the appellate court on Thursday, the applicants all agreed to have all written arguments submitted to the court and then present oral arguments on March 15. Justice Singh assured that once this process is followed, a decision will be made in the three matters in the shortest possible time. Outside the courthouse, former Attorney General Anil Nandalal expressed disappointment at the way the process of hearings is ongoing. He says he now has no faith in the system.
I think the court proceedings have already begun to be a waste of time, which is unfortunate for me to say so, but that's the reality. After the 21st of March, the time frame would have expired. The court can't stop that time from running after that. So the no confidence motion would have completed to have its effect, and that can be reversed by any court.
Nandalal further claimed that the errors pointed out by Justice Prasad remained untouched 1 week after the first hearing. He stated the reason he opposed to the interim stay.
None of the mistakes which were identified on the last occasion were corrected. They were not corrected, so the appeals by themselves are all defective, all of them. The mistakes which were identified are still there, but the judge was very kind today, I suppose, and one didn't want to rustle any feathers, so he brushed the thing over. But all the mistakes are there. In fact, they have been multiplied this time.
Meanwhile, Attorney General Basil Williams reiterated that the government filed an interim stay as a means of upholding the principles of the Constitution. He further said that the government is not in a state of fear over the remaining period stipulated by the Constitution for the resignation of the coalition administration.
There's no time running out.
So then why you apply for the stay full time is running out?
To maintain the status quo, keep the cabinet in place, etc. Listen, let me tell you definitively now. There's no drop-dead date after 90 days. There were two options given inside that same provision, 30 days or a longer period.
The Attorney General further noted that the contention of the government is that an important piece of legislation, Article 106.7 in the Constitution, is inaccurate.
106.7 is an erroneous provision. Why is it erroneous? Because it purports to repose in the government the conduct of elections. And the government does not have the conduct of elections. The party given the conduct of elections by our Constitution is the Ghana Elections Commission. And there are a set of provisions dealing with that, to 161 to 162, where they have the absolute remit for the conduct of elections.
In sports, Jamaica's Reggae Girls emerged victorious in both games of their two-match friendly international series against South American opponents Chile after winning the final game 3-2 at the Montego Bay Sports Complex Sunday night. The Reggae Girls won the opening game 1-0 at the National Stadium last Friday. And in cricket, Chris Gayle said the West Indies will get a bit of respect at this year's World Cup after claiming a 2-2 series draw with tournament hosts and favourites England on Saturday. O'Shane Thomas and Gayle starred as the Windies thrashed England by 7 wickets in the 5th and final day international held in St. Lucia. Thomas claimed 5 for 21, with the tourists being demolished for 113 of 28.1 overs, their lowest ever total in an ODI against the Caribbean side. Just 3 days after scoring 418 in the 4th match in Grenada. Gayle signed off on his ODI career in the region with a blistering 77 off just 27 balls to catapult his side to victory, with almost 38 overs to spare in reaching 115 for 3 of 12.1 overs. The 39-year-old was the obvious choice for the Man of the Series award, giving his utter dominance with the bat in every innings of the 4 matches, scoring 424 runs at an average of 106 with 39 sixes. And that's the news. Thanks so much for watching PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.